welcome to Flory Models Friday Roundup Show. Here we are on the 27th of January 2017 after what has been actually quite a busy week. Doesn't look like I've done a great deal, but it's been quite a busy week sorting things out and working on this guy. The trouble is when you're dealing with resin, old school resin, I would say, it's not like resin sets and stuff like that which are almost drop-in. These take a little bit of fiddling around with and working out, and when your instructions consist of that, which is pretty much useless, trying to work it out how you're going to shoehorn a good chunk of resin like a cockpit into something where there is no guidelines and all the rest of it is a little bit hit and miss. To be honest, the weapons bays and the electronics bays, things like that, battery bays, they're all fine, no problem at all, but generally the cockpit's been a bit of a pig to try and fit into this one. And we've got a lot going on in there. So this entire front section of the A10 for me is going to be the business end. We're going to do a little bit of work with the engines at the back, but this is where it all is. We're opening up panels, we're detailing the engine, we're going to be able to see the engine from underneath, things like that. So generally we're just sort of taking our time, making sure it's right. So it does involve a lot of dry fitting, and obviously dry fitting is no glue. I'm a great believer in tacking everything in place with white tack. So what I use is big blobs of white tack. We push those in, push it in, see what it is. If it seems to line up, take it off, see the impression marks, mark it on the plastic and work your way around it, and that's what we've been doing. But anyway, we have got it sussed now, so we started painting up the actual cockpit. We're going to paint up that probably over the weekend, get that one done. The gun is basically all painted and sorted out now, just got to put it together so that can be fitted into it. And then we can move on with some of the other major constructions. Just off a camera, I've got the wing sections over there. We've got the tail parts. They're all ready to go together as well. So really, we're working our way through it quite nicely. One thing I have been doing with this particular build all week is using this stuff, which is plastic magic. Now, I know you're thinking it's a bit like filler, you know, another glue, here we go again, and all the rest of it. But I used this a couple of years ago when it was just called something else, but it's roughly the same stuff. But somebody asked me about it because they're saying like new and all the rest of it. So I got a bottle of this in and I thought, well, we'll do a proper on test. So I've been using it with this particular build. And I have to say, it's not as thin as extra thin. Which is obviously depending which flavour you want. We've got both flavours there. We've got the quick drying and the normal. It's not those, it's a tiny bit thicker, but it's not as thick as the white top stuff, which is more like the old-fashioned glues and stuff like that. So it's somewhere in between. The only thing I do like about it though is this stuff, it doesn't dry quite as quick. So when you're working on big projects, something like this, especially wings and stuff, you can actually get it to go round. And normally I've been falling back on the white top stuff now for doing bigger parts, but this one's been working well, but it is equally as well balanced for doing small little jobs and stuff like that. The brush isn't exactly brilliant, it's a little bit chunky and all the rest of it, but generally I have to say, a bit of a thumbs up if you're having trouble getting extra thin Tamiya stuff and, you know, bits and pieces. This is definitely another way to go with it. I think it's very similar to the guns glue, because obviously it's the same bottle and everything else. I'm pretty certain it's on a par with something else like that. There may be some little differences in there, I don't know, but I haven't used that stuff now for a couple of years. But generally, just, you know, using it in real life, it's working really, really well. No problem at all. No real glue marks or anything else. But again, it's not quite as thin as extra thin. So you do get a little bit of glue marking if you put a little bit too much on and stuff like that. But generally, a bit of a thumbs up from that. But I'm going to hold judgment till I finish building the entire thing. Then I'll give you a proper review of what I think of this stuff. But it's nice to be able to use it in anger, so to speak, on a model instead of just gluing two bits of paper card together. You know, yeah, it's glue. Yeah, what we want to do is know what it's like. Does it sink? Does it dry particularly fast? Has it got a really good bond and stuff like that? So we'll give it a whirl on this particular build and we'll see how we're getting on. Anyway, this week we started off obviously working on this, and you're going to get it probably on Monday. You're going to be about a week behind me. It's how I'm going to run it with this one, so I can get a little bit of a start onto it. And then what I basically did, I did a show on Monday that explained what we're going to be doing, how we're going to be using it, what parts, so forth and so on, and stuff like that. And then you have part two of the Mustang build-up, which I must admit is moved now, it's over in the cabinet. But that was working using MRP paints. And I know, and it's been brought up on Facebook, I do talk about them, I seem to champion them. It's like I've got an alternative motive. As I pointed out on there this morning, honestly, I had nothing to do with MRP at all. I've never got so much as a freebie bottle out of them, or even a discounted bottle out of them. I've paid for my entire range, full price and everything else. The reason I champion a product is when it's a good product. It's a bit like the spray booth. I know I harp on about it, but you know, when I've had a spray booth for 10 years and it's never failed me once, I think that's a good product. I will tell people. You know, other paints we've had bits of trouble with them and stuff like that, like Steinel Reds, I have trouble with that, and various things. So from my point of view, it's a good product. I will use it, and that is why I use it. I'm using it on this build as well, and everything else like that. So generally, a bit of a thumbs up to them. But I used it for doing the Mustang, and again, it wasn't perfect. We had some issues with it, and that's what I like to show you in all my builds. Is I'll show you when it goes right, but also I'll show you when it goes wrong, okay, and why it's gone wrong, and explain the reasons doing it, and then how to fix it. And that's the whole point of why I do this, is to show you the good and the bad, and then that way, hopefully, you can then avoid those because you've seen me go through it. And if you do find yourself in it, you can see how to get out of it and various things. So we did have a few little problems with the actual wings. Some of the colours weren't exactly happy with, and everything else like that. But generally, it went pretty well. So that was up with you on Monday. James asked, have I tried the Hattiga paints? Is that how you pronounce it? And what's my opinion of them? To be honest, I haven't. I know people who have, but to be honest, it was like last year we had this thing where it just seemed to be every single week we had another paint manufacturer was releasing something, or an unknown person was just suddenly out and would come with another range of paints, and I was that sick of it at that point. I was like, yeah. And again, I'm a great believer in, I have what I need. Why do I need to change it? And I know what that's, there's the old, used to have a fantastic picture growing up as a kid, which my father put up on the wall. And basically what it is, it says, always have time for new ideas, is the slogan. And what it is, it's the Battle of Hastings, 1066, old Harold there getting the arrow in the eye, but there's a guy there trying to sell him a Gatling gun in a cartoon, and it is brilliant. So it's always try new things. So that's what the thing was, a bit of a motive from mine. And I'm a great believer in that, yes, okay, you should try things and see how they go and everything else. My point of view is, speaking to people, it just was the same as everybody else's. There was no magic moment with it. It's not like when I was sold, say we're going to talk about it a lot, but MRP paints, it took me 6 months to try them. I had everybody telling me, Phil, you've got to get this stuff in, it's amazing, it's great, it's like, nothing you've ever sprayed before, it's like coloured alclad, it's beautiful stuff, but it's as hard as nails, it's really easy to clean up, no clogging, spitting, and you're thinking, yeah, nothing's ever that good. Then I get a bottle and it's like, right, okay, that's fantastic. Okay, I love it. And then I'm completely sold on it. That particular stuff, it is at the end of the day your standard acrylic paint. The only thing I have heard about it is that it goes down beautifully. It has no problems. It's on a par anything you're going to find with Vallejo or MIGS paints or AK's paints and everything else. But it's not anything you would suddenly say it's a game changer. The only nice thing about those particular series is that if you are new to painting and all the rest of it, they do very nice sets which cover a particular genre or environment or whatever it is. So if you wanted to do I don't know, South Atlantic stuff from the Falklands War, that was the one originally that I saw. That one comes out with all the sort of Argentinian colours in there, and obviously the Royal Navy colours and things like that. So it's quite a handy set to do if you were doing something else like that. But again, it's another acrylic range. I can imagine after the success of MRP, give it a year, we're going to be flooded with them. They're going to be everywhere, with other people trying to knock off their particular paint and everything else like that. So it's just one of those things. Tuesday, right, okay, so we had quite a bit of a run. So Tuesday we put up the last part of the actual Mustang, which covered doing the invasion stripes underneath. I do the really easy route with it, and doing the painting work, and then obviously the decaling, and then we did glossing work with it. And also I showed you in depth about removing obviously the centre seam off of canopies, because it's got quite a nasty one on that particular kit, and then dipping it afterwards to give you a crystal clear canopy and all the rest of it. So if you ever wondered about that, go and have a look at that one. Remember, that particular build is free to watch on YouTube as well. So you don't have to be a member or a subscriber or anything else like that. You can watch that one for free. It's not as detailed as we do this type of things. It's just like a little bit of a freebie I chucked up there. So obviously people can see what we get up to in a small sort of concise thing. Normally the builds are a lot bigger and everything else like that. We had some deliveries in, which caused an absolute shitstorm. I will not lie to you. I've got inundated with emails, messages and everything else about it. I don't really want to keep harping on about it. I know we got some of it in the messages in here. Next week I will do the review of it. What we're talking about is obviously the fallback. The thing is, it's a big box, but it's a big price. It's 110 quid. Is it really worth any kit worth that type of money, really, when it's just a 148th aircraft, especially when we've got other things like the flanker came out, what, 3 weeks, 4 weeks before it, and it's a fraction of the cost. So where does it all work? But what I'm going to do is next week I will put on a hard hat and I will do the review of it, and we'll wait for the fallout to come from it, because I have my particular opinions about it. We'll speak about, but yeah, okay, we'll talk about that one then. So anyway, it all kicked off on that one. Some of the things that happened in the Flory Models Forum. Peter was actually saying it'd be interesting to see the review of it because of the price. Is it worth it and everything else like that? He's also saying nice start on the A10. It would be nice to see this particular build because obviously different techniques we're going to use, which is very much true. I intend to show pretty much every single modelling technique in this particular one. So we're looking at resin, we're looking at obviously photo etch, we're looking at obviously then going to be going through fillers because there's a lot of it to do, rescribing, riveting, raised re-riveting we're going to be covering on this particular build, and then obviously into the paintwork. I'm not sure, and I think somebody asked a question about that we'll talk about in a moment. Andy says, good to see the A10 is underway. What markings are you going to be doing? Obviously the UK based A10s. I'm not sure, I'm not up on that. I'm doing mine as it's like known as the A10A Plus, which has got the, is it the Letzi upgrade? That's why it's got the giant frisbee thing on the back of it. On one of these it has, and everything else like that. So it's got the dustbin lid on the back for the GPS antennas, and it's got the CDU display down in here. So that's why we ended up using the True Details, the black box cockpit, against anybody else's, because it's the only one that's got the correct cockpit, because you need to have the CDU interface down in there. The earlier type, the A10 normal A, doesn't have it, but the A Plus has it, and obviously the C has it, because it was the part interim upgrade between the two. So that's why we've gone with that particular one. There is some A10 decals coming out from a new manufacturer. They're not available in the UK yet, and they are in Euro 1 camo, obviously the greens and things like that. I was going to go for a grey scheme, but I don't know. I've got the camo one up there. I'll get it down. It needs a dust, but I have the 48th version up there in the camo that we did as one of the first Flory Models video builds back in the day. Right, Nigel says cockpit. Again, that's because of, he was saying about why did we choose this one when we were going to use the other ones. It was only literally when I started going around on it and looking at the cockpit properly, I suddenly noticed none of the others have got the CDU interface onto it. It's a little TV screen and everything else down there. It needs to have it, so that's why we went with that particular one. Adam, nice start on the A10. Looking forward to that, and looking forward to the SU34 review. Okay, over onto YouTube on that day, we had expensive, but it does look like a super kit. That was from Ray. James said, basically was saying about what it was 110 quid for it, and people were saying about 70 quid for the Tamiya kit was cheap, was expensive for the 70 quid one. It puts it in perspective beautifully when you put it like that, so well done James, I totally agree. Terry was saying I won't be adding that one to the stash, it's definitely not worth 107 quid. Well, you know, and then is it Kabul, sorry if I've just ruined your name. You seem to get kits and tools like money grows on trees. Yeah, but don't forget, we spoke about this the other day. Yes, I could take all the money I earn from doing this job and have very nice cars and holidays and all the rest of it. But to be honest, and I'm not just saying this, I pour it all back into what I do here. So it goes into kits, tools, reviews, stuff, and then obviously a lot of this stuff, you know, it builds up here and then we give away and we have various raffles and prizes and various things like that, but also a lot of the money goes into camera equipment, editing, computers, all that to make this show exactly what it is. So it does, you know, obviously it pays the bills, I'm not going to lie, but at the end of the day, as I say, a good chunk of it goes back into the company. Okay, Wednesday, it was a Q&A show. It's not like official Q&A shows and all the rest of it. What happens is, if I notice it's a bit of a quiet day and I've got a pile of questions in the Ask Phil section, I tend to rattle them out and go through it like that. So obviously we've got a proper Q&A, which is going to be this Sunday. Don't forget, it's going to be Sunday, 5 o'clock UK time. So, you know, you can join in, post up your questions, all the bits and pieces like that. It's going to be Hans and Steve live for 2 hours. We're going to pre-do your questions, preload them. So don't tend to ask too many questions during the show, because unless we have like comments coming up as we're live on air, then we've already got the questions lined up. That way we can get them all prepped and ready to talk about and stuff like that. Balsa foam. Oh, I've moved it all now. Where did I do with it? Oh, it's over there. Sorry. I did the review on balsa foam. Now, this is one of those ones where, to be honest, you know, I spoke to the guys from balsa foam the Telford show. Brought it back here. They were kind enough to send me some samples and everything else like that. And, you know, it's one of those things you think, right, okay, what am I going to do with it? And me being a bit of a muppet and not having, you know, an artistic mind, I do this, but that's because I have references to show me. But you think, what am I going to do with it? I don't know what I'm going to do with it. Okay, so I did a little bit of research, obviously. And obviously it's designed for sculpting. Now this stuff you have to imagine is like an oasis from the florist, but imagine it rock hard, as in this stuff you can physically carve it, you can chop it with a knife, you can sand it, you can actually emboss into it and everything else like that. And then as soon as I'd finished doing the review, I sat here and I thought I'm going to have a little play. And that's the bit you see with the music during the review, was after I'd done the review and I started to play with it. And then all of a sudden, to be honest with you, I went from thinking good stuff for just, you know, I'm thinking big sort of dioramas and stuff like that. And then I started playing with it, and the more I was playing with it, thinking this stuff's brilliant. You could do anything with this. You can carve it into any shape because it is such a high density, especially the rock hard one, the hard version of it. You could carve anything. You could literally carve something out. If you're a bit nifty, you can literally make anything from this stuff. So instead of having that thing of like, you know, having to knock something up in resin and stuff like that, you can literally just sit there and whittle this stuff like a piece of wood. And all of a sudden, that brick wall, I was thinking, okay, doing bricks for that, yeah. And then all of a sudden you get quite artistic, I could do this. And you're looking at it thinking, bit of paint on there, paint it up, be absolutely fantastic. That's quicker than making a wall out of whatever you're going to do it from. And also, if you need to make a wall to a certain, you know, type or crumbled or broken down, thinking about it, how are you going to do it? Okay, so you've got to do, obviously you're thinking plastic hard, you're thinking perhaps resin, you know, and all these things. Okay, right, okay, let's get a little bit of plaster on the go, plaster of Paris, and we're doing that. That's really complicated. This, you sit there, whittle it, put it down, couple of coats of glue over the top to seal it, to stop it being porous, paint it, and it'll be good to go. Really quick, very, very easy stuff to work with. And so afterwards, it was like an epiphany. It was like, this stuff's brilliant. I love it. Absolutely fantastic. So that's why you got sort of an extra bit on that little bit of a review after I'd used it, which is one of the things I should always do first. But I wanted to show you my reactions to a product as I'm using it for the first time. But as I said, it's one of those things where you think, yeah, it's expensive, and it is, but it's very, very good stuff. It's one of those things, it's a quality product, okay? And I know I've had guys say to me, you can go and get insulation stuff and all the rest of it. I've done insulation stuff because I've done dioramas before, and obviously I do other hobbies and side things, and I use that type of thing for foam and making things from it and all the rest of it. But this stuff, imagine it being very tough though. So that's why they call it balsa foam. It's nothing to do with balsa as in it's like a wood, because it's not. It's actually a plastic. But the thing is, it's as light as balsa, and it's as easy to carve as balsa. In fact, it's easier to carve than balsa, and it's been the best thing, I think, for doing any type of carving work or anything else like that. So really did enjoy playing with it. Right, then we were talking about Peter. It was me because I did the Q&A, and I mentioned about lacquers eating into plastic, which I still stand by. But this is when you're literally rubbing at it. So you're using it like an agitator. If you've got lacquer thinners and you put it onto your model and let it sit as in a puddle of it and then start rubbing at it, you will start to etch into the plastic. Remember how I do seamless intakes? I use lacquer thinners and a bit of old school lacquer based putty, and we melt the entire thing in together to give us a seamless thing inside intakes. It's exactly the same principle. So that's what I was saying about it. If you leave lacquer thinner sat on your model, it will start to eat into it. But if you give it a wipe over generally before you start painting, so if you've got your model here, you could use lacquer thinners, give it a rub over. It's so thin and it will evaporate very quickly. It won't affect your plastic. That's what I meant with that. And I know Hans jumped into it because he said he does it all the time, wipes over his models before painting to get rid of oil, residue and everything else after that. Okay, so yes, I do agree, but what I was on about was just thick stuff. And obviously if you've painted your model and you drop lacquer thinners onto it, it's never a good thing. Okay, acrylic, you can literally just blow it away and it will just, then it goes a bit wrinkly and all the rest of it. So if you spilt X28 on your model, but you blow it, it goes away, it goes a funny colour, and then over time it will come back and you'll be fine. But you try and do that with lacquer thinners, it will physically melt into everything. It melts through decals, it will melt through anything at all. That's what I meant about it. You just have to be a little bit careful when using lacquer thinners. On YouTube, Dean said, looking forward to the A10 build. Thank you very much. James says, can I do a novelty build using rattle cans instead of an airbrush? I could, but why would you want to? That would be my question. I know what you're saying. Maybe I'll do it for a one-day build. We could do something as a thing. Rattle cans, don't get me wrong, I think rattle cans have their place in the hobby, you know, bar none, especially for the aircraft, for the car guys. for the automotive stuff, because obviously you can put it in, put the shell, and then spray it with a rattle can. A rattle can like that to go a high gloss finish will give you a better finish than you're ever going to get if you're using an airbrush, because the thing is, with the propellant that's in an aerosol, it tends to just have that right mix of material and propellant which just goes on nice and wet. With an airbrush, a lot of people overpressure, so there's too much air, and then you get orange peeling and everything because you're drying it too quickly as it's approaching the model and sticking to it. But the thing is, if you're doing rattle cans, and I know guys who do it, if you're doing like a camo, you've obviously got to do the worm tack way and mask it, and then you spray it on. But because of the size of the can, it's very difficult to get in to all those certain areas. But if you were doing an overall colour scheme, you know, if you were doing something like perhaps you were going in with I don't know, just a grey or a black or something else like that, or a white even, a rattle can, very easy, nice simple job to put down, mask everything off and put it in like that. But smaller jobs, you're going to have a little bit of a hard time getting those finer details in. But as a novelty, and perhaps as a one-day build, yeah, we could give it a whirl. I'll quite put up for that. Okay, Vladen, sorry again. Any alternative to lacquer in the EU with clear and yeah, so in the EU, right? I think we were talking about lacquers obviously in the Q&A show and everything else like that. Obviously, you don't have to use lacquers for acrylics, okay? From that point of view, my favourite still is Tamiya X20A or Vallejo's airbrush thinner. Both of those, they're very, very similar. They both got retarders into them, and they work an absolute treat for doing it. And my favourite one that I seem to go back to time and time again is Tamiya X20A. It's just one of those ones for doing anything from thinning. Vallejo, obviously Tamiya paints, guns, and all the rest of it. You'll have no problem with that at all, and it goes down fantastically well. We're talking about clears as well. I think what people were getting a little bit confused with is in the UK, and probably most of the EU, when we're talking about clears and glosses and stuff like that, we've got the Old Faithful, which is this stuff here, okay? This was the good one that used to be like, I don't know, £1.75 a bottle back in the 1990s, okay? No problem at all, really good. But now they've changed it to this stuff, which has got a smell to it, and it's white, and it's not the same. Then there's a third option, which I got in a few months ago now, well, probably about 6 months ago now, is this stuff. Now this is Pledge Floor Care. Nothing to do with clear whatsoever, but this stuff works the same, but you can see it is clear. I love this stuff. Have a look at the P51 because I glossed it in it. It goes down, doesn't seem to affect any type of metallizer finishes, so it doesn't sort of fuzz it or make it go funny. It's clear, it's great for dipping canopies, it's beautiful. But it's not cheap, because if you want to get it into the UK, it's going to cost you around about 15 quid, you know, but you're going to last it forever. I've been using this for 6 months, and that's so far how much I've gone into it in 6 months. And I do a lot of work, as you know, and it gets used for everything. So that isn't a problem. But this stuff is really, really nice. I'm pretty much sure it's very close, if not better than the... Have I got a bottle to hand? I do. The Goozy stuff, or their dipping one in the other pot. Okay, from AK. This is their Shine Enhancer, which I actually highly recommend for putting over metallizer finishes and stuff like that, because it just makes it all pop and looks lovely. But this stuff is just as good, if not better. So from that point of view, it is that thing. But it is going around the houses of it all, because you could just use a normal gloss if you wanted to, like a Winsor & Newton or a Rembrandt gloss from your local art store, will give you just a good effect. But this stuff, straight from the bottle, you know, 15 psi with a 0.2 needle, good to go, no problem at all with it. And I use it for absolutely everything. Okay, so where were we? Thursday. Carried on working with the A10. To be honest, I was out doing various bits and pieces in the morning. Come back, got on with the A10 for a little bit. And also I did, which I've now moved. Where is it? Oh, it's over the other side as well. Oh, there it is. So yeah, I did the review for the actual Warhawk, or I edited the review for the Warhawk. I must admit I did it over the weekend. airfix, again. Great little kit coming along very, very nicely. Okay, still a little few problems. There's lots of ejector pin marks, has been mentioned as well, and you know, there's apparently some little fit issues with it here and there. The canopy, I must admit, took me totally by surprise, because there's just no framing in it and all the rest of it. It's a bit weird, but hey ho. But generally the kit itself is definitely another good plus. It's nice to see, as we were saying, we were talking about expensive kits, 110 quid a pop. This thing, 15 quid, absolute beautiful kit, goes together, no problem. And say, if you look around, you get them even cheaper. But Airfix are bringing out quality products, which is what we want to see, and they're getting rid of all that crap they used to have and been reboxing since the 70s that never worked and went together and just truly awful. Those are long gone now, or hopefully most of them are long gone now, but being replaced with good quality items at a very good price as well. So if you want to make yourself a Warhawk, and I know we've got other manufacturers coming out, it's been pointed out to me, but at the moment that's one of my favourites. It looks really, really nice. No, I haven't built it, but I know a few people have, and they've said it goes together lovely. So kudos to Airfix for doing that one. Simon, he asked about my units. These here, which I tell you, they are full of crap as well. And to be honest, if you want to find it, I put the link. If you go to Thursday the 26th, the Flory Models vlog, I put the link. It's not to the company I got these from, but I couldn't find them anymore. I don't know if they might have gone now. I've had them for a few years, but I found them on YouTube, eBay. There's a company on eBay, so you can see about it and all the rest of it. Yes, there's American ones. These are the ones that are technically on wheels, and you have handles. You can bolt them together. You can bolt maximum of 3 together and have them on wheels. But I've taken them off the wheels because they don't need to move and they just sit nicely here. What I'm going to do is next week we're going to do a series during the vlog, and each show I will show you inside one cabinet. Okay, and we'll work our way around. So we'll start probably, well, we might even start with these, and we'll work around what's in the top ones, what's in the bottom ones. And as you know, there's cabinets under here. To be honest, we've got 2 under here. There's one at the end that has all the paints in. So I'm going to give you like a tour in depth around. So we'll talk about the tools we use, the reason I've got them, the ones I've got and never used, and the reason I don't use them, and everything else. Because I'm as guilty as everyone. I'm a tool hoarder, as you've seen. But I can point out what I like, what I dislike, and everything else. So we'll go through drawer by drawer, everything. We'll call it going through Phil's drawers. Probably not that title. Okay, so right, Craig was saying about the video was jumping. Not us, I must admit. I know we're putting up the resolution. I keep cranking it up. I know some of you spotted the other day we put one up in 4K and everyone was like, wow, that's clear. But it's just me playing with ideas and various things on there to see how it works and stuff like that. But a couple of you mentioned it. Say John, then he mentioned it about saying the video stability problems. A lot of it is because they are uploaded in a very heavy count and all the rest of it. Sometimes if your computer is a little bit clogged, it's a little bit full up and all the rest of it, then what can happen is it can obviously choke a bit and it tends to stutter because it's a large file format as it's coming in and all the rest of it. Like a vlog being put up, like today's one, probably about 5 gig in size that will go up. Now I know YouTube will chew on it and they'll put it into different sizes for you and all the rest of it, but it's still quite a heavy upload or download file. So if you're being a little bit pipelined, if your cache is full up, things like that for your computer, usual thing, do a restart of your computer, it will normally cure the problem. But it's not us, our end, so to speak. It tends to be more other people's ends. And Scott, I'm surprised you're not using the Model Master's gun for the A10. What, you mean that one? No, we are. It's just I haven't put it on yet. The thing is, like I explained during the build, when we do the full thing about it, it was on the show a couple of weeks ago when I've got all the parts here and I was showing you all the parts separately. But I don't want to put it on yet because it's quite delicate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a temporary gun on it for the moment, and then what I'll do is as one of the final things when it's coming together, final assembly, I'll be putting the more delicate parts all on, shall we say, including that gorgeous gun with the barrels and everything else. So we'll get it done to the right length and all the bits and pieces so it's ready to go, and then we'll get it fitted afterwards. But I have got it. It is there. Okay, and that is about it. I think we're all good there, and that brings us up to today. So today, as you say, this morning I've been working on this. Now I've got to go and edit this and get it sorted. Then I've got to do the orders and everything else. So that's why the first part of this won't be up till Monday. But what I will do is get it done over the weekend. There's quite a lot to it. As I say, it's pretty much in depth, this one, although I'm hoping it's not going to choke up to be a massive 15-parter or something else like that. We'll keep it quite, down into place. And like we're doing now, don't forget, it won't be a video Monday and Wednesday. You'll get them as you get them. So that's why you've had things like, as I say, 2 parts, Tuesday and Wednesday when we did the Mustang. It will go up as soon as they're ready. You'll get them. So on Monday you'll get a part. You might get a part Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, for all I know, depending on how we get on and how we get the actual editing done for this one. So don't panic, there's still to come. I've got one more review still to come. Might be up today. I might put it up over the weekend. If not, it'll be probably Monday again. And that is for the big 1/6 scale Stormtrooper. I did the review of it. It's all done. I've just got to edit it and get that sorted out. But as I say, I want to get this one done. I want to get the cockpit finished. I really want to get the front end of this done this week, because next week will be a doddle in comparison, because it's just like fuselage, wings and various sections as it all goes in. But it's none of the fiddly little technical bits which are taking time with fit issues and stuff like that. And that is about it. So yeah, good week. Don't forget to join us on Sunday, because obviously we are going to be live, so it'll be 5 PM UK time. Me, Hans and Steve answering all your questions that have been pre-done to us in the forum. It's a new format for us, so you know, bear with us. As I say, we haven't tried this type of thing before. Unusual things are a disclaimer, as in, God knows if it all drops out, it's not my fault. But hopefully it's all going to run fine and absolutely everything else like that. So there we go. That's it for this week. I'm going to leave you with your great work as always from the gallery. Some fantastic work as ever. So until Monday, everybody, unless you're going to join us on Sunday night, happy modelling, take care, and I'll see you soon.